What I'd like to do now is actually take you into a little bit more detail on how you manage each stages of this learner journey using the correct leadership style. So let's start with the enthusiastic beginner. Like I said, the enthusiastic beginner is high on commitment, very enthusiastic, but low on competence. So the correct leadership style for that stage of the learner journey would be directing. This is very much a one-way leadership style where you're telling the person what to do. You're very much directing and supporting them. You're very much leading them to that stage where they are not necessarily making their own conclusions, but you're concluding with and for them. Very directive, very supportive. You're also not exposing them to high-risk situations. That would be silly. Why would you expose an enthusiastic beginner to a high-risk situation without the right support? The next stage is the disillusioned learner. As I said in the earlier stage, the disillusioned learner is really medium on competence, but very low on confidence. They understand the basics, but they really are finding it harder to master than they expected. And as a result, they seem overwhelmed, and they feel overwhelmed, and they feel very, very frustrated. So where do they find themselves now? They're on the capable but cautious platform. What does this mean? They know what their day-to-day responsibilities are, but they still have some doubt in their abilities. You believe that they're competent, but they doubt themselves, and there's a continual fluctuation between their excitement levels. So where are they? Their commitment is variable, and their competence is quite high. So think about it. What leadership style would you apply to the capable but cautious learner? If you said supporting, you're right. What does a supporting leadership style mean? Well, basically this person needs very little direction but needs a lot of support. You are listening to his or her concerns, and you're having daily interactions with them on their concerns. You don't give the answers. You help them out by asking the right questions and letting them come to their own conclusions. So, if you have worked with the right leadership style on the capable but cautious leadership individual, or the individual that you're leading, hopefully at this stage they're a self-reliant achiever. What does this mean? They're a key player in the team. They're challenging clients. They're confident. They're inspiring others. They're a real team leader and a team player. At this stage, you can afford, and only at this stage, to move into the delegatory or the delegation leadership style. What does this mean? You let them run their own territory. You empower them by letting them act independently. You trust them. You acknowledge their good work. And most important of all, you give them the correct resources to complete their tasks. To simplify this, I'd like to use a very simple analogy. The situational leadership model applied to something that you and I really understand. The art of learning to ride a bicycle. Remember when you were 4 or 5 years old, as I was, and your father or mother bought you a brand new bicycle. You were the enthusiastic beginner. You just wanted to climb onto your bicycle, but your dad pulled you aside and he said, "Johnny, I'm now going to give you some directions on how to ride the bicycle. Here's the handlebars. The handlebars are used to steer the bicycle. Here's the pedals. The pedals are used to move the bicycle forward. So, get on the bicycle and I'm going to be supporting you." And that's stage one, enthusiastic beginner. Your dad's got the back of your bicycle, he's giving you directions, and you're ready to rock and roll. You're ready to learn how to ride a bicycle. So what happens? You kick off into first gear, and your dad's holding the back of your bicycle, and what happens next? All of a sudden, you realize your dad's not holding the back of your bicycle, and you wobble, you lose direction, you hit a stone, and you fall over. What stage are you in now? Absolutely, the disillusioned learner. Your dad now needs to coach you through the stage, which requires what? Direction and support. So he gives you a few more directions. He says, look, maybe you should miss out on a few of those stones. Maybe you should hold your handlebars a little tighter so that you don't weave and bob across the road. And let's give it another bash. So you get onto your bicycle, your dad's got the back seat, he's holding you, he's supporting you, and you kick off into first gear. What happens next? You look behind you and your dad's still holding you, so you get a little more confidence. You learn how to work the bicycle handlebars, and you start getting a little bit more confident. What stage are you in now? You are in the cautious but capable learner stage. And what's your dad doing now? He's supporting you. What happens next? The next thing, you've got your confidence up, you look behind you, and your father's not there anymore. You're riding a bicycle. It's taken you 2 or 3 days of pain, but finally you've learned how to ride a bicycle. And that's pretty much how the situational leadership model works, ladies and gentlemen. It's really around supplying or giving your employees the right level of support or direction to the specific stage of the learning cycle that they're in. I'd like to make one more point, and this is very interesting. Traditionally, there was a saying different strokes for different folks, which fundamentally meant that I would apply a very specific leadership style to a very specific individual. So if I would assess you as wanting to be delegated to and wanting to have a democratic leader, I would apply a democratic leadership style to you. Conversely, if I knew you needed an autocratic leader, I would apply that. And I would apply that same mantra to the same person. However, the situational leadership model really throws that thinking on its head. The situational leadership model is really around different strokes for the same folks. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. When I was an auditor many, many years ago, and I was a manager, I used to get a team of auditees or interns that would join me at a client. I would then give Johnny a section to audit. For example, Johnny, go and audit bank and cash. And Johnny would run off, and for 4 weeks, he would audit the bank accounts of the specific client. He would trace invoices, he would recalculate VAT, he'd trace transactions, intercompany, intracompany, and at the end of 4 weeks, he'd really be an absolute master, a maestro, a guru at how to audit bank and cash. So what happens? 4 weeks after that, I move with Johnny to another client. And I've got very high expectations from Johnny right now because in the last client, he did bank and cash and he did it phenomenally well. So what do I give him? I give him creditors. And creditors is a very difficult section to audit. In the auditing world, creditors and provisions, one of the most difficult sections to audit. I give it to Johnny, and based on my past experience with him, I've assessed him as competent and he's got a great attitude. So what I do, my natural inclination is to give it to him and say to him, Johnny, here's creditors, go and audit it. If you've got any questions, come back and ask me. 3 days later, Johnny comes back to me and he's in tears. He doesn't know where to start. He doesn't know where to end. He hasn't got the right information. He doesn't know who to ask for the right information. What have I fundamentally done? I have made the cardinal mistake of not assessing Johnny's competence and commitment for that specific task. Bank and cash is very different to creditors. I should have assessed his competence and commitment for creditors in line with the new task. I should have assessed him as an enthusiastic beginner with some experience and some confidence, and I should have adapted my leadership style to more direct. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, I think the situational leadership model really throws the old adage of autocratic and democratic leadership on its head. I would advise you and really encourage you to come to terms with this very powerful leadership tool. That ends my session for today. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.